Shweta. I'm Ekta, your host for the evening. Welcome
Hi,
to our
Ekta.
welcome to our book club, and where all these reading enthusiasts they talk about the books that they are reading,
Oh,
and
wonderful.
we meet once a month to do book pe charcha, and we always want a person who can actually touch our personal and professional life. So it's a pleasure having you here, Shweta, because you are going to
Thank you
add
so
some
much.
flavor to it. So if I talk about Shweta Vikram, she's a best-selling author of 12 books, an international speaker, certified Ayurveda and mindset coach. So we have a lot to learn in the session today.
Thank you so much for the intro, Ekta.
Yeah. So Shweta, before as I just shared with everyone that you are an Ayurveda coach, and you, as I know about you, that you have a very well balanced life. Like you give due respect to your work, to your body, to your family, and back end we also know that it's very important. We must do it, but I don't know, we are not able to do it. Somehow if I talk about all of us here, that whenever we browse Insta, I always tell myself that it's only for 15 minutes, Ekta. No, not more than that. But I spend hours in it, or maybe I'm doing my work, then I tell that it's after this I have to take my kids to park, but it goes on and on and on. So just tell me what practical, just give us all a practical advice that you can give to to balance it. So what is the one thing that we can do which is doable?
Oh, we could write a thesis on this, Ekta. We love social media. We hate social media. I mean, we are here because of technology and social media, but I absolutely hear you. And the thing I love the most about Ayurveda is how it talks about compassion and kindness. And it's not just about when you're practicing your yoga. No, that is one aspect. Yoga asanas from within the Yoga Sutras also 1/8 of the aspect of yoga. It's a mind body living. So Instagram is a very real example. And the reason I talk about compassion and kindness is, so what if you scroll 30 extra minutes? Think backward. Like if you scroll for 30 extra minutes, instead of saying, oh, I suck, I don't know how to see how my body language is changing when I am being condescending towards myself, instead of saying, okay, 30 extra minutes. What if I do 20 extra minutes only tomorrow? So I think as human beings, we want to go from 0 to 100 without realizing there will be hurdles in between. If you are, and by you, I don't mean you, any of us, by you, I mean any second person, right, is used to being on social media for extended periods of time. We all are, especially during the pandemic, it got boring, and that was one of the survival mediums. Why judge ourselves? So just the next time that happens, just say, you know what? Instead of 30 minutes, what if I do the extra 20 minutes? And then, like, look at me. I saved those 10 minutes. So when you're kinder to yourself, it's the way you talk to your kids, Ekta. Would you tell your kids, you suck, how did you spend 30 extra minutes in the park? You won't, right? So why can't we show ourselves the same compassion? Because we forget, when we are kind to ourselves, automatically we are kinder to others. When we have like these rules that you can't make mistakes, says who? Like, says who that you can't spend 10 extra minutes? Like, it's not like you killed someone. You killed those 10 minutes, and next day you'll realize, yeah, maybe, you know what? TK, it wasn't worth it. So first thing would be to acknowledge, be aware that there is mindless scrolling happen. Secondly, be kind that that's happened. And the third thing would be, why is it happening? Is it boredom? Is it loneliness? Is it some level of insecurity? And we all have all of these. Proportions might differ. So just ask yourself where it's coming from. And it doesn't have to become a social media post while you're scrolling, but my point being, check in with yourself. And sometimes that's very helpful when we become aware of what is driving our behavior.
Oh, that's interesting. Thoda guilt kam ho gaya, Shweta.
I'm glad that's always my goal, because as women, दूसरों के लिए we have umpteen प्यार. Like, oh, it's fine. But for some reason, we put ourselves on this pedestal of not worship, but of analysis and criticism. Like, you failed here, you failed here, you failed there. No, you woke up, you breathed, your family is alive and thriving, you did pretty good today.
Oh, I did good today.
Yes.
It was a good day. So absolutely, I think I got it now. So next time, if
Good.
I'm using extra 10 minutes, I'll say Tomorrow only 5 minutes. Yes. And one thing I think I've been reading about meditation for quite a long time, and as we know, there are multiple definition of meditation in every book. Some says that you must observe your breathing, breathe in, breathe out, or some says that you should have that emptying your mind. But whenever, I think most of us, whenever we try meditation, what happens is like we are busy, we just concentrate, how it is happening, whether is it right, and kind of we are not enjoying that journey, we are not enjoying that feel to it. So can you tell a simplest and the easiest way to do meditation and which we can really enjoy? Because I think in this pandemic, it's very much required.
It's required all the time, Ekta. Now more than ever, for sure. But it's like I call meditation mental flossing. Will you not brush your teeth any day? It's the same thing. Like if I can brush every day, I must meditate every day. It's mental flossing. And I hear what you're saying, because we get very clinical about that's the world we live in. We like to be intellectuals. This is how it must be done. No, do what works for you. So even to me, like sitting by yourself for 5 minutes, and it doesn't matter. Again, don't be cerebral. I'm high pitta. This is what the beauty of Ayurveda is. They won't say, oh, Ekta, this is how you must meditate. Shweta, this is no. It's like where you are, what you need, your meditation is for you. But we are not talking about that. So a simple thing which works for anyone or everyone is, I like to place one hand on the heart, doesn't matter which hand, one hand on the belly button, and just feel your breathing. So, if you look at dogs and babies, they know how to breathe. Like I have a 9-month-old niece. Her belly is like a little dumpling. It goes up and down and up and down. Because as adults, we forget. Dogs breathe the same way. But as adults, we breathe from the chest. That's why like, I can't breathe or I have anxiety. But if you started to breathe from here, from your belly, from your diaphragm, that is meditation. So meditation doesn't mean sitting inside a cave. That also means, but it's a journey. It's like what I was talking about, 0 to 100. You have to first get to step 1 and 2. 5 minutes a day, just put an alarm for 5 minutes, one hand on the heart, one on the belly. And just imagine you've gone to a big wedding, those big, large, fat Indian wedding, where I love mithai. So I don't eat khana, I only eat mithai. And you've hit the dessert counter. And when you eat too much, how your belly feels like, oh, kyun kha liya? So think of that feeling. And when you're breathing into your belly, and let me do this. So it's like a big belly, and then you exhale, so your belly button is touching the spine. And when you inhale, your belly gets big. So think of that baby belly or the dog belly, and then exhale. Just doing this taps into your parasympathetic nervous system. So you start to relax. So when you tell your mind, don't think, it will think. Again, think of a 5-year-old. You tell them to sit, will they sit? They won't. But if you let them be, they might choose to sit. Our mind is not different. So this could be a simple meditation to start, 5 minutes every day. And then you realize it's the only addiction I think is a good addiction. Though I would not applaud addiction in any other way. But it's like you start to realize, oh my God, this is so relaxing that I want to do more of it. So yeah, just start off small, 5 minutes of this, then maybe do 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening. When you go for a walk, turn off the music, turn off the phone, turn off the podcast, whatever, or anyone talking to you, ask them to turn off their volume and just walk. That is mindfulness meditation. So you're paying attention to the environment around you. So it doesn't have to be that you need to sit somewhere. It can be something as simple as just connecting with yourself. So I hope that helps.
Yes, it's very much doable, because thank you. I always thought that meditation is like ऐसे करके बैठना है और उसके बाद कुछ सोचना नहीं है, which is very difficult to do.
No, and it is actually, you get to that point eventually. I've been meditating for a very long time, so I get to that point. But there are days when I've had like a rough day at work, or 5 clients and very rough day with their stories. I can't do it. Despite having meditated for all these years, I can't just sit and close my eyes. I have to do things to get to that point. And this thing really, first my body has to calm down so my mind can calm down. Right? And the mind has to calm down so the body, it's like they're both interrelated. If you're agitated, you can't sit quietly. And if you can't sit quietly, you will be agitated. So this breathing technique starts to calm the mind and the body. And then if you want to do like a longer thing, it's very doable.
Oh, yes. I think it's surely going to help all of us here. Yes, 5 minutes in a day, we can do that. And Shraddha is talking about Ayurveda, because as we know that she's a Ayurveda health coach, and I am proud of the fact that it is from the ancient system is from India, and our dadi, basically Ayurveda is what our dadi and nani, they have solution to every problem, every illness. The ingredients are there in the kitchen only, always. I still remember I fell in the park and I got hurt here. Some iron rod went inside and my dadi refused me to take to the doctor. She said nahi nahi, mark reh jayega, ladki ke nishan reh jayega permanent. And she took some haldi and she put it here, and no, there is no mark. She was absolutely right. And but now what we think is, I think Ayurveda means buying bottles from the market. But as I was reading somewhere that most of the ingredients that are there in Ayurveda we find in our kitchens. Is it true?
Well, I would. So yes and no. So so very often Ayurveda is just looked at nani dadi's wisdom or home remedies. It's more than that. Yes, it's a part of it, but that's very basic Ayurveda. You know, before Western medicine, before the British government took over India and literally burnt books in Ayurveda, Ayurveda has 8 parts. There is also surgery, there's gynecology, there's psychiatry. So it's clearly beyond the kitchen being an apothecary. It's beyond the haldi and the jeera. It's fascinating how they did. I mean, people went to wars thousands of years ago, right? People lost a limb, somebody got hurt, like you said, you got hurt, right?
Yes.
Then there was surgery, and the system is just incredible. This is something that they teach us it's a medical system.
Oh.
So it's a full practicing medical. So what you are touching upon is a small aspect, the kitchen spice aspect, but it's a full medical system where some of my teachers here in New York have also studied from Bombay, and they were head of gynecology at like Podar Hospital, and they also used like pulse and vibration to figure out if the baby was breached. So I'm saying it's a fully I'm sharing this so you understand it's beyond kitchen remedies, right? And the goal of with Western medicine, I have a lot of respect for it. You know, in case of emergency, there's nothing like Western medicine. Someone has been in an accident or someone has, like cancer all over the body. Ayurveda takes time. You can't wait for Ayurveda then. But Ayurveda works with prevention. So what can we do to prevent somebody falling ill? And then what can we do if someone has fallen ill? How can we cure it? So like I said, there is internal medicine, there is psychiatry, there is gynecology, there is rasayana, which is rejuvenation, there is surgery, there is all of these things. And so it's based on elemental system, much like Chinese medicine. We have 5 elements, which is space, air, fire, water, and earth. And we are all a combination of these elements, which are called doshas, right? And we have dominant dosha. We all have all of the doshas, which is vata, pitta, kapha. But when you go in for an Ayurvedic consultation, your practitioner, like if you come in to see me, I'll observe you, I will ask you questions, I'll take your pulse and things like that. So going back to, it's beyond the apothecary. So our nanis and dadis had a lot of wisdom. They didn't have the science to back it up, unfortunately, because a lot of them weren't very educated. Right. But when you think of it, yoga and Ayurveda, they were sutras. That's how they've been passed down. You know, the student, that was also meditation. A teacher would say something, the student would listen, they would pass it down to their students. So it's basically honoring what your body needs. You know, right now, like a trend has been everybody should eat kale. But then why are so many people getting gallstones? Because Ayurveda would tell you not everybody needs to eat kale. It will create stones in some people, especially those with high vata. So, and I think that's the beauty. It's very customized. And what you get in the market, I mean, it's also some products are super inexpensive, and that makes me a little uncomfortable because there's there is like the Shakt ghee, which 100 times it's been filtered. How can that product be cheap? Absolutely. Imagine the amount of labor that goes into making that. So if somebody is selling it for a super low price, I'd be a little skeptical. So be careful what you buy.
Yes, and I don't know. I was reading somewhere about chia seeds and quinoa, which fat diets are coming in. You know, everybody's having those chia seeds. But yes, so there is a science behind it. So you just can't have it, because everybody's having it.
Right. And then it's like, there was a big article in the New York Times many years ago about how somebody was like, oh, yoga is the worst thing because they injured themselves. And I'm like, you need to know what yoga to practice. So Ayur Yoga is an aspect of yoga using Ayurvedic principles. And again, not everybody should be practicing every asana. Not everyone should be doing a headstand. So it's again depending on your doshic imbalance. So it gets very scientific and very customized to what you need today. 6 months from now, you might need something else.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. It was really, I always thought Ayurveda is this much only, but it's so much to know. Yes. And Shweta, because being, we have all entrepreneurs here, So I think in this digital work life, in this pandemic, what I have seen is the stress levels have gone really high. Managing people at work or meeting the deadlines. I don't know. It's very difficult to control and manage the stress. So what's your mantra to do that? One thing that that really works.
That is such a real question, Ekta, because it's most of my clients, that's something they're dealing with as well. And the reality is stress levels have gone up because everything seems out of control. No one really knows what tomorrow is going to be like. So between childcare, elder care, and it's taken a bigger toll on women than it has on men, because, we tend to take more responsibilities. Just the way the social structure is, women have more on their shoulders. So a little stress is a good thing. It's a motivator, but it's important to know when it goes beyond a certain point, that's when burnout happens. So for those people who have younger kids, what I suggest to them is have a little sign like mommy is at work or mama is at work or whatever. Kids, it's fun for kids. So, beta, when that sign is up, at that time, don't come in unless obviously like it's an emergency. So, and this is a fun way, but also like talking to your partner if you have one. Like, I need pauses because like I was saying, you can't help others if you haven't taken care of yourself. And women like to be martyrs also. Sometimes we take on responsibilities which no one asked us to take care of because we feel this is what we're supposed to do. So having those first honest conversations with yourself, you know what, nahi, main thakti hu, or I can't handle this. I love my kids, I love my partner, I love my parents, my in-laws, but 24/7, it's too much. It's okay to say that. It doesn't mean you don't like people. It's just that it just feels overwhelming. So having those honest conversations and knowing who is open to an honest conversation. If having a conversation is going to lead to a fight in the family, maybe it's not worth it. But if there is one person that you can talk to, even having that space, like I need 30 minutes of me time every day. It's non-negotiable. So even starting with something else, and I kid you not, Ekta, like those 30 minutes of me time could be going for a walk, could be watching Netflix, could be sipping chai, could be exercising, could be reading a book. Don't define it. On a daily basis, check in with yourself what you need in those 30 minutes. You will notice how tremendously your stress goes down. You know what happens with a lot of women, and I'm not saying it's you women, all of us women, we do, and one day we explode. Because then we feel we are being exploited, people have taken undue advantage of us. And I am not saying any of this is not justified. All I'm suggesting, it doesn't have to get to that explosive point. Start to pause before it gets to that point that one day everyone is like, oh, leave her alone. And then if someone says you might be PMSing, I am ready to take a cricket bat and beat them up. So, I'm being very honest here, or if you're in a menopause phase or you're post-menopausal, like biologically also women are going through a lot more than men do,
Right.
So there are these responsibilities, there are also these hormones. So like take those 30 minutes without 5 minutes of your meditation has nothing to do with these 30 minutes. Because when you take those 30 minutes, you will be present for your family 150 times more than feeling like, oh, breakfast again. I remember when, when the pandemic hit, one of the days, like 2 months later, and in the US, we don't have that support structure, right? Everything is a full-time job. Like you're cooking, you couldn't have your cleaners over because of the pandemic. So, and managing home. Then one day, Joy said to my husband, everyone needs to do a juice fast now. I can't cook anymore. And it was just saying that felt very liberating. Like, oh, I can just say that. And then I was like, okay, I feel good. So I just felt like, what am I, Mother India? Constantly like, like the stress was building. So even as a practitioner, this is my job. This is what I do. I still get stressed. So every time that happens, check in with yourself. Right. What is stressing me out today? Who can I talk to about, not venting. It's like, who can I talk to who's trustworthy where I can say, hey, can we scale back on something, or can you step in? and help me out. Can you help the kids with homework today while I sip a cup of chai?
Right. I think it's better to. I think everybody here can relate to it, and everybody is going to try that for sure.
Yeah, because I'm sure we've all had those moments of today.
Yes, it happens. It happens. Yes,
I can't do this anymore.
I blasted yesterday only, so I can very well relate to
Oh, me
it.
this morning.
Okay, so but now today I'm going to. So I think it's good to say no. If you cannot do that, it's good to
Yeah.
say no rather than
But
blasting
also
oneself.
absolutely, and also saying no with kindness. Don't push yourself to a point where it's like, no, I can't deal with you all. No, it's before you get to the point. So, you know
Right.
what? Before I get to that unpleasant, and for men, most Indian men, the art of communication is not where they shine. It's not where they shine. Like denial works for them. And that's large number of men. I'm not saying all men, right? So this might be new to them, you communicating, but that's how habits are formed. Our nanis and dadis, our mothers ate roti sabzi for breakfast. We ate toast and Mohan cornflakes or Kellogg's cornflakes, right? Habits take time to form. So they might be uncomfortable. That's okay. You're not their mother. You don't have to look at the discomfort. It's like for our family relationship, in-laws, parents, kids, everyone to be happy, I need to let you know I am not doing okay right now. And it's amazing because they start to also respect that, where all of a sudden they're watching cricket and someone is like, no more TV. That's not happening. Like, they know you walked into a conversation. I have
Right.
my client deadline too. It's just as important as yours. I cannot do this right now. So
Right.
that really helps. No one wants an explosive situation.
Absolutely. It's good to say no when you can actually when you can be kind to someone.
Yes, and yourself.
Yes. And as I told you that we all are working women here, so we always struggle to thrive, to do our best in our respected careers and to achieve our goals. So first thing that we ignore is our health, because it never your body never says आज ठीक से नहीं करा, आज ठीक से खाया नहीं, आज पानी नहीं पिया. So can you give us some maybe 2-3 tips that would help to give so that we can give importance to our body, what we can do actually, because
Sure.
if healthy body leads to success, what I feel is so.
Oh, you're absolutely right, Ekta. There is no success without wellness, because sooner than later, the illness will catch up.
Right.
So it's, I think it's for women especially, we are very hard on ourselves, and I can't emphasize this enough. If we don't do a 90-minute, and I've struggled with this, if I couldn't do a 90-minute yoga session, I was like, aaj to kuch kiya hi nahi. But 20 minutes is enough. Just because you can't do a 5-mile run doesn't mean 1 kilometer walk is not good enough. So we need to stop putting labels of what is good amounts, right? Like that, we need to get rid of those labels. So exercise is non-negotiable. And I'm not saying you don't have to go to the gym. Do what works for you. Like I love dancing. So sometimes it's just dancing, and somebody might like walking or yoga or whatever. Like for me, yoga is a mind thing. Movement is a body thing. But just figure out what works for you. 30 minutes of that every day. It's a great stress buster. It's also your me time. So it's like everything built into one. It lowers stress. It releases happy hormones. And it's great. Like you feel good. When you feel good, you eat better. You eat better. You look better. When you look better, you have more confidence. And by look better, I'm not saying a size, not at all. By look better, there's the glow on the skin. When your glow is there, you feel like, oh, oxygenate ho raha hai sab kuch. And then don't be tied to any size, because you know what? After 35, our hormones start to go crazy. So you really don't know why obviously if you're eating a kilo of jalebi, that's not a good idea either. But for most people, you're eating ghar ka khana, you're moving and things, and don't be stuck on the size thing. I know Bollywood really makes it much worse about the size zero thing, but you're going to have other health issues. So eat fresh khana, which I think in India is not a big deal, because there's a support structure in place. So eat fresh every day, meditate daily, and 30 minutes of non-negotiable movement 7 days a week. It doesn't have to be a family activity. Family activity is separate. This is your time.
Your time.
And
Me
you
time.
realize your productivity goes up, because exercise will lower your stress. It will increase your sense of self-worth. When you sweat, all the toxins come out. So it's having effect on your physical, mental, and emotional well-being. And so also at the same time, you don't have to do everything. Like I remember my mom always had like a million things on the table. So when I got married, I thought that's what I need to do. And then I'm like, here, I have a career, I have a family, and I'm trying to replicate what my mother did. And fir se itna khana banana hai. So like it can be, and the body cannot digest so many things. That's another thing we need to know. You can't eat 10 things at the same time and expect for your body to so simplify your life. Like simplifying is very necessary. Just because Ekta does something, Shweta doesn't have to do it. Like just knowing that is also very, very important. What works for you? I don't know your situation.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, like we make these comparisons thinking, oh, but that one can do it. We don't know what their support structure is, what their financial, emotional, familial abilities are. So do what works for you and your family. So that'd be my advice.
It is surely going to help because I think spending some time with yourself, it's very important, I think the solution is this only. Stress level will surely go down and you can concentrate on your work better. I think it's surely going to work.
So, and also because of the pandemic, Ekta, we are all sitting a lot. So this is good for the back as well. And just do like even 5 downward dogs. Pura Surya Namaskar nahi bhi ho raha hai. The Adho Svanasana, if you go in that, there's blood going to your brain. So it's you're nourishing. So like simplify it. Not everybody has to do a headstand, but everybody has to do 30 minutes of movement. Right. So just remember that.
What unless suits your doctor says no. Yes. So we must do what suits for us. Right.
Yes.
We know our body very well. So anybody here would like to ask something from Shweta, because so far the conversation was so interesting. Yes, please, Chavi.
Yes. Hi, Shweta. This is Chavi.
Nice to meet you, Chavi.
Yeah, same here. So my question was like we were talking about the hormonal imbalance like women our age are having these days. So like I'm a hypothyroid. So how can Ayurveda help? Like I have been doing yoga, pranayama and meditation. So is there anything else that can help to bring my thyroxine levels to normal T3, T4? As in how can it help?
So typically I work one-on-one. I wouldn't give suggestions because I don't know your medical history and I wouldn't want to ask in front of everyone else because it's not the right thing to do. But generically speaking, I was like, even in yoga asanas or when you're doing Bhramri, like Bhramri can be very good for your thyroid. So again, like do the pranayam that works for you. Like Kapalabhati is great, but it will do nothing for the thyroid. So, but Bhramri, and so when you're doing Bhramri, so tilt the head and bring it down. So that's when it's working on your throat chakra plus your thyroid. And then if you look at YouTube, there are some throat chakra meditations as well. So work on that because, we in Ayurveda and yoga, we say mind, body are connected. So yes, the levels are something, but it's also working on expressing yourself. So that's bringing in another angle. So think of it from that perspective also.
Okay. As in my question was about like some foods to avoid or to be taken.
No, that's something, Chavi, that I can't give you in unless it's a one-on-one setup because I also need to know what the rest of your medical history is. Because for some people, I'd say, thyroid issue, don't eat green leafy vegetables or don't eat like a cauliflower or a broccoli. But for some people, it works. That's why I need more background of what's going on with the person before I can make a recommendation.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Anybody else would like to ask? Because I think yes. Yeah, Khushbu.
Hi, Shweta.
Hi, Khushbu. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, same here. My question is, for Ayurveda, just reading the book will help us or we need to go to a specialist like you?
I would always recommend going to a practitioner.
Okay.
Because like I was explaining, the books and I'm writing about this, like the online quizzes seem very attractive and sexy, but like Ayurveda is customized. So how can a generic quiz, it goes against everything, right? So how can a generic quiz help us? And it's a medical science. Can you become a doctor by just reading a book? No, right? So it's the same thing with Ayurveda. It's a medical system. And people end up hurting themselves more by Googling. And it's good to be aware, when your Ayurvedic practitioner has told you this is what you need, then read up on that. But at this time, you won't even know what to. And very often, people take like quizzes and I must be Vata, I must be Pitta, I must be Kapha. But that could be your imbalance. It could be a seasonal influence as well. And only an Ayurvedic practitioner will be able to help you, because they will actually look at your tongue, they'll look at your eyes, they will look at your pulse, and that's when they figure out what your imbalance is. So if you're reading and doing, and you might, and I'm just making this up, right? Like it's summer is high Pitta season, and you just assume, oh, I have high Pitta, but it could be high Vata. So here you're feeding yourself things that you think are correcting your Pitta imbalance, and it might be increasing your Vata imbalance, which is actually what you're battling. So that's why it's very important to go see a practitioner.
No online session will also help us.
No, so online session with a practitioner will help, but
Okay.
not like just Google doctor will not help, is what I'm saying.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Yes. Yeah, Minnie.
Hi, I'm Minnie.
Vineet. Nice to meet you, Minnie.
Same here. I have some health issues from last 12, 14 years. And initially I was on medicine, then I am on homeopathy. And now I'm just, no medicine is going on.
Oh,
But-
wow.
Pardon?
I said, wow.
But my question is, should I go for Ayurveda? Because someone says that Ayurveda is little warm medicines. Actually, I have fistula from the last 14 years. And my bladder is not proper working. And I go through for 12, 14 surgeries from last 10, 12 years. So should I go for Ayurveda or for it's the urine problem and all that? And my uric acid is and my creatinine always little higher side. Like in these days, my uric acid is quite high, and I am already on zero diet, having a no protein diet. But how long it will take no protein diet? Because last 2 months I'm on no protein diet, but still the results are not so that satisfactory. जब मैंने test करवाया,
Acha.
then again I have to go for medicine, and they have given me one tablet only. Rest, my sugar, my BP, my thyroid is absolutely fine. Just I have uric acid. It's thoda genetic also.
Okay.
And uric acid and creatinine, kidney functions are little disturbed. Not as much, but yes, they are little on higher side. So my question is, should I go for Ayurveda?
So see, I can't answer that for you. It's legal liability, right? Like I can't make your medical decisions. What I would suggest is it does not hurt.
I'm not in that. I'm just wanting.
No, so let me finish. So what I was suggesting was it would not hurt to see an Ayurvedic doctor and ask them. So like Ayurveda is very helpful with many diseases. But like you said, if you've had 12, 14 surgeries, once they see you, they will be able to determine if Ayurveda can help you. You see what I'm saying? Like if it's a beginning of something, Ayurveda might be more helpful. But if it's at a stage where, and they need to see you to tell you like, oh, maybe we can help you, and it might just take a little bit longer. Do you have the patience, Minnie? Or they might say like, it's at a stage where it's out of Ayurveda's hand. So my suggestion would be, if you're asking me, is like it doesn't hurt to go see an Ayurvedic doctor, but don't stop the other things that you do. Because
that's my
yeah.
Very first thing. I don't want to be careless with myself. Never ever.
Right. So they might be able to tell you, because when you're talking to them and you're giving your medical history, and they'll figure out like, is it as a stage where Ayurvedic, जो Ayurvedic दवाइयाँ होती हैं, the herbs and stuff, will that help? Or it might be like they might be able to help you just with the diet and lifestyle, saying, okay, eat a little this way and do this kind of yoga. It might help with certain aspects, and for certain aspects, Western medicine might be more helpful. So maybe a combination might be, but I can't imagine it would hurt talking to an Ayurvedic doctor.
Yes.
Is what I would think.
It could be a help. So I think you can try that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes, Harsha.
Yes. Hello, Shweta.
Hi, Harsha.
this is
Nice to
Harsha.
meet you.
Same here.
And that's a
same here.
lovely color, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Shweta, I wanted to ask, as we all age, sometimes we don't realize that what our body is giving. There are certain symptoms which our body gives us. But sometimes being very busy, we don't realize. And the problem becomes a big problem in our body, and suddenly we come to know that we have this disease. Sometimes this happens with all of us. So I just wanted to ask, is does Ayurveda help in reading those symptoms also? If we don't even know, personally we don't know, but if we go to practitioner, because it happens with all the ladies especially, we are so busy in our household chores and kids and everything. Sometimes, like I have mild pain, but then we come to know, okay, I have kidney stones. This happened with lot of ladies. Or there's a tumor, then we come to know, oh, that tumor is really big. And it happens with lot of females nowadays. There are some tumors in uterus, or there's some. So is there any cure before having this all? Can Ayurveda help before getting to this stage?
So Ayurveda's first goal, there are two goals in Ayurveda, is to prevent a disease. And the second goal is, if a disease has happened, how to help cure it. So yes. And sometimes it might be at a last stage of something, and some diseases happen that way, like it's at a fourth stage, then it might not be the answer. But to your point, there are always signs, and you don't have to be an Ayurvedic doctor to see the signs. Like in an Indian home, growing up, attending weddings, the number of uncles, and you don't have to tell me this, think of that Taya, Chacha, Mama who was forever burping or farting, right? And we just assume that's what men do. That's what older men do. Gas is their second name. But that is a sign. Or they was like, heartburn ho raha hai. And few years later, we learned they have the heart attack. No one just has a heart attack. No one just has a tumor. No one just has anything. There are always signs. And the beauty of Ayurveda is the mind-body connection. So when, like, for instance, if you were my client and you came to me with, let's just say, heartburn ho raha hai, I'm going to talk to you about your lifestyle, your diet, your relationships, because everything makes a difference. If that person is eating fried pakoras all the time, why are they doing it? If someone is eating, I love mithai, so I keep going back to jalebi and gulab jamun. But my point being, if that person is eating mithai, what is their motivation? Right? No one just, unless you have you're born with the diabetes is different. Some people develop diabetes over a period of time. It's lifestyle induced, right? Like gout is lifestyle induced. So you don't go from 1 to 100. There are so many signs, but we've become so lazy. Globally, it's not India. We've become so lazy. We want to pop a pill. I have enough clients, even people in my own family, they're like, oh, can you give us an Ayurvedic pill? I was like, no, I can, but I won't, because that's not how I work. Then go to a Western practitioner. If you're not willing to make changes, if you're not willing to work with me, I don't work with people who are not making an effort. That's not how I work. So the change, there are always signs, Asha, and that's such a good question. There are always signs, and it's because it's a group of women and it's such an important conversation. Women are never told it's not normal to have cramps. It's not normal. I have a client who could not get out of bed the first 3 days of a period when she came to me. And I'm like, poor thing, no one ever told her this was not normal to have that kind of bleeding. So it's a sign towards something. But we go when we can't walk, or someone can't have a baby, or someone has had a miscarriage, or they're like, I used a tampon and wore 4 period panties and wore a pad, and yet I was bleeding. So this is an extreme case, but my point being, this has become the world culture. We push ourselves to the point of our bodies breaking, and then we find ourselves in the hospital. But what if we started the first time we had a menstrual cramp? Why can't we question that? If it's a monthly thing, why do I have so much pain? or why do I have so much bleeding, or why do I have so much clotting? And that's true for any other disease too, right? Like, why is this
Right.
person gaining so much weight? If everything, like, can we check their thyroid? Can we check their diet and lifestyle? Like, if this person does not exercise at all, if this person exercises a lot and they're still gaining weight, can we question why? If this person does not exercise, why are they not exercising? Nobody wants to feel unwell, right? If they're mentally healthy. So Ayurveda will answer all of this, the mind-body connection of what drives our behavior and what are these signs. And then before it manifests, there's 6 stages. Before anything gets full-blown disease, that's the 6th stage. We don't even call it a disease until the 3rd stage. That's how beautiful this medical system is.
And one more question, Shweta.
Sure.
We always hear that this is heredity, this is heredity. So how can we know this is heredity, or this is something like, okay, my parents have diabetes, so they always say you are so prone, you might get diabetes, or
Right.
my father. So this is something which I always question myself. Is this heredity thing exist? And if we know that we have something like heredity in us, we have certain genes like this. So is it curable in Ayurveda at a very beginning level, so that we don't get to that stage?
So it might be, again, dependent. Ayurveda is who, what, when, where, all of that, right? So it depends on who this person is, what level of imbalance exists in their body, right? What is their current diet and lifestyle? Like you said, diabetes, and I'm not picking on you, I'm just saying, if someone has diabetes in the family and they don't exercise, they eat their dinner at 10 p.m. with lots of rice, they are asking for trouble if they don't exercise, versus someone who has diabetes in the family, but they make sure they don't eat anything after 7 p.m. They exercise regularly. They make sure their lifestyle supports an anti-diabetes thing. So their propensity might be much lesser. So yes, genes do play a role, but our lifestyle plays a bigger role. Like one of my clients, they have cholesterol issues in the family. Like even the kids from like 8th or 9th grade have cholesterol issues. But what that has become is they are very particular about how they live. Doesn't mean, now that kid is in his 20s, doesn't mean he's not going to eat his burger. He's an American kid. But at the same time, he makes sure he spends an hour in the gym. He makes sure he takes care of his mental health. Because a lot of this disease are also emotional. I was talking to a nurse in the ER, like she works in the cancer center. And she said something very interesting to me. She's a Western medicine practitioner. She was like, Shweta, more women than men have autoimmune and chronic illnesses. So your thyroid, cancer, diabetes, all of them fall under that category, right? And it's because we have unprocessed trauma. And when we think trauma, we think rape or accidents. Trauma could be your day-to-day disturbances in your environment. So, so we can't see that a mind is separate from a body and our emotions are separate. They're all tied in. If you're stressed, you will make bad food choices, right? And when you're making bad food choices, impacts your physical health. So see how all of it is connected. So that's such a long-winded answer to your simple question,
I
Harsha.
totally get it. It's kind of a vicious circle. You keep on doing that same thing again. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, but you have to show. Absolutely. But it's about showing up daily. It's about recognizing, will you feed your child today and not feed them for 3 days? You won't do that, right? So how can you not show yourself the same love?
That's true. That's absolutely true. Thank you, Shweta.
Thank you so much, Shweta. It was a pleasure having you, and I think we have taken a lot from this conversation today, and surely we are going to try this thing in our lifestyle. Thank you so much.
I hope so too. It was a pleasure to talk to all of you. Thanks for having me.
And surely you'll get
lots of good luck and good health.
Thank you. Surely you get an email from us, saying that yes, we have improved.
I would love that.
Okay. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. See you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.